Welcome to the Michigan Golfer, Bill Shelton. Join us each week as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great game.
Hi, I'm Jack Berry, and I'm here at Manistee National Golf and Resort in beautiful northern Michigan. And today we are talking to Bruce Matthews III. He is, well, you can see with the third, he's in a long line, been in a long line of people active in golf in Michigan in every facet of it, from digging in the dirt to building beautiful golf courses all around our state. Bruce, tell us how it began down in Grand Haven.
Well, it started out my family-owned Grand Haven golf course, which my dad ran for my granddad. All of us grandchildren had an opportunity growing up to work on the golf course, which many of us did. I started working when I was 10 years old, and I guess I wasn't smart enough to get out of it because I'm still here.
Now, what were you doing at 10 years old? Picking rocks out of the bunkers or what?
Close. I handpicked the range and washed clubs. So that was before they had the range picker. I was the range picker.
So then from your grandpa was a Michigan State graduate, is that correct?
He was Michigan Agricultural College.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
My dad was Michigan State College, and I was Michigan State University.
Okay.
Yeah, we're the young ones.
And then what happened to his career when he left Michigan State? Things weren't going too good back in those days, were they?
My granddad, things were going well when he graduated. He graduated in 1925 and worked for Stiles and Van Cleek right off the bat. Got a job in Florida for John Van Cleek at Tarpon Springs Country Club, designing and construction on Tarpon Springs. It went well for 4 years. He worked with Stiles and Van Cleek and did Pasadena Yacht Club, Radium Springs Country Club, went up to Taconic, and then went to Glenarvan in Georgia when the things started slowing down and the Depression was coming on.
And then those were the dry years. What happened then?
At that point, Manistee Golf and Country Club had contacted Wayne Stiles about doing some work up here, doing another 18 holes. They had a 9-hole course, but they wanted it to be an 18-hole course. They were a little bit disillusioned with the cost quoted by Wayne Stiles, and my granddad saw the opportunity and seized the opportunity as, hey, here I am, and away he went. He came up and designed his first Michigan golf course solo in 1929. He was 25 years old.
Wow. Well, the financial ticket that he presented, I think, kind of has continued through the years with the Matthews family, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
Building a lot of golf courses at reasonable prices that people can play.
That has been my granddad's. He came after 1929. He spent 30 years in the operations of Masonic Country Club, which was then Green Ridge Country Club, which is now Egypt Valley. And with his operations background and his design background, he designed for the masses. The 18 handicapper was the profit of the club. So that really is what he keyed the designs into that.
Yeah. And the family has continued that.
Every one of us. You'll see my granddad and my Uncle Jerry and his designs. You'll see my granddad in my work. We've got some really nice splashy golf courses, and we've done some high-end work. But our bread and butter is working for the masses and designing a golf course that everybody enjoys to play.
Is that correct? Now, how did you get move on up to where you?
It's interesting. My granddad lived right down the road from us, and when I was a kid, I rode around with him a couple of times on his projects. right then I knew that's what I wanted to do. I got out of Michigan State, and I didn't care for school that much. I didn't. I went into the turf program, which was a little bit easier than the landscape architecture program. Maybe yes, maybe no. But so I graduated in the turf program, and which was fortunate because I happened to graduate in 1975, which was when the oil embargoes and we were hitting a depression in golf at that time, and I was very fortunate to get a job as a superintendent, and I was on one of their courses in Indiana as a grow-in superintendent. So I spent 12 years as a superintendent, and more recently was at Sunny Hannah Country Club in Pennsylvania. Then I, talking with my granddad and Jerry, they were getting a little bit busier, and I joined them in 1985.
Being a turf man, I mean, you could say, I'm not going to do some of these stupid things that I see some of these golf course designers do that nobody can play. Is that right?
Well, everything that you do, it leads back to maintenance, because when you look at it, maintenance overshadows design. People want to play on a nicely maintained golf course, but when you look at really neat looking designs, they're awful difficult to maintain. So there's a proper balance, and that's where you work it out. But you come from the maintenance side, but you've got to throw a little splash in there too for visual.
What was your first real grab at designing that you got the chance to do the design?
The first real design, from start to finish, I was working with my Uncle Jerry at the time, was Bird Creek Golf Course up there in
Right on the thumb, right?
Tip of the thumb.
Yes.
And that was a really neat project for 800 people in town.
Well, wasn't that kind of a sweat equity course where everybody worked on building the golf course?
Yes, it did. We had a group of volunteers, and it was really neat because it worked out. They had a board of directors that made decisions. They'd fight like tooth and nail, and they'd come out of that meeting and everybody's together, let's go. And they worked on volunteers from the dirt work to the handwork to the irrigation installation to the hardware store owner, bought the grass seed, to the farmers planted the grass, and a year and a half later, they were still with us. It was really a neat project.
Well, you had another one like that too, didn't you, in the early days, Emerald Vale?
Emerald Vale in Manton also did the same type of format, and again they worked really hard and got themselves a really special golf course in the town of Manton up there.
Had kind of an Irish tag to Manton, isn't there? It seems like I've gone through there and seen a lot of Irish signs.
Everything's geared on the Irish up there, including Emerald Vale.
I think one of your big ones was at Hidden River, up in the northern part of the Lower Peninsula, and Angels Crossing and the beaches, and things just started rolling along.
They really did in the late 90s and early 2000s. Things were going well. Hidden River was a really neat property up there just north of Petoskey. Angels Crossing is a beautiful piece of property just south of Kalamazoo, and the beaches is just what it says over there in South Haven.
Well, then we came on to another kind of a dry period in golf course design because of the economy, and I think that you went to a course that I had the pleasure of going, and everybody told me about this course in Battle Creek up on the north side, and I hadn't heard anything about it. And it was Marywood. Went up there. What a nice golf course!
It's a beautiful little golf course there. It was an old private club that turned public back when the 9/11 hit. When that was really it took a hit on everything, and golf was right there along with it. I looked at it with a friend of mine, and he asked if I wanted to run it, and first I said no, and then he asked again, and I said, well, I'm not doing anything, so I guess okay. So I spent 10 years there at Marywood, and it was fun building that operation up during those 10 years.
And with all your foundation in turf, why, that must have been very helpful.
Everything was helpful on that. When you're running a business, it's every little bit that you've got behind you helps.
And you also have done some teaching at Michigan State, is that correct?
I've been fortunate to be taught 9 years. I just retired from my class there in design and construction, but very fortunate to spend nine years at Michigan State.
Now, what is the course title?
It was golf course design and construction. I would teach young future golf course superintendents what to look for and what to ask about in golf course design and in construction, so when hopefully they're remodeling, that they got the right answers or got the right place to look for the answers.
Now, do you see a lot of your graduates in top jobs around the country?
They're starting to work their way up. Yes, they are. And they're fun. The students nowadays are very smart, and they ask a lot of good questions, and they keep you on your toes, keep me young.
And didn't that occasion your job at Angels Crossing? You put in some of the holes that you were talking about at Michigan State.
Well, we're looking at the classics that were over in England, and the early East Coast golf courses from the early architects, and there's a lot of classic type golf holes, such as the Cape hole and the Redan and the Long and the Bottle hole. But there's a lot of different holes, and what I was doing is not a pattern or a tribute golf course. I was looking at the classic golf holes and say, how would I want to do it on this piece of property? And it was a lot of fun just fitting those holes and just seeing how they laid out, and that's what we did. It's a nice golf course.
And how do you start from the greens and work back, or how do you design a hole?
Well, you start routing to where the land allows you to put the hole. You try to look for elevated areas for tees and greens, and then you look for areas adjacent to the hole that you can play around, and look at the natural hazards and see if you can bring them into the hole without overly taxing the golfer.
You like elevated tees?
Everybody likes elevated tees. Everybody likes to be up on top looking down. It's toughest hole in the world is an uphill par 3 when you can't see it go in the hole when you hit it in the hole.
And tonight you're going to tell some folks at Manistee Golf and Country Club just how you design a golf course. Is that correct?
Well, we're going to talk to Manistee Golf and Country Club. Was my granddad's first golf course in Michigan, so we're going to talk a little bit about their architects. And their original architect was Tom Bendelow, who was known as Johnny Appleseed of Golf, and 18 stakes on a Sunday afternoon. And then my granddad, who came back in 1929 and designed an 18-hole course for him. So we're going to just talk about their history and the design history with the golf course.
Now, that's a course that's right on the big lake, isn't that right?
It's got one of the prettiest views in Michigan. On 4 of the golf holes, you're sitting right on Lake Michigan.
I think there's only one other course in the state that is right on the lake, which is pretty unusual considering all of our water all the way around, that we don't have any courses right on the lakeside.
Yeah, and it's been there since 1901, right on the lake.
Now, the Matthews family has been in Michigan from the Indiana-Ohio state line all the way up to Lake Superior, and it's we have a lot of very highly recommended, highly noted golf clubs, and starting with Grand Haven, which was
It was the first. It was in the top 50 list of Golf Digest on their first ranking that they put out, somewhere between 1968 and 1970. I can't remember the year, but when it came out, it came out, Public Golf Course top 50, 2 of them in the state of Michigan, Grand Haven Golf Club, which was my family's, and Salem Hills were on the list, and they were both my granddad's.
That's pretty strong. Now, and you've worked over the years on something like 60 or more courses around the state.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
And your Uncle Jerry has added more on to that. It's been a wonderful trait for the Matthews family to take care of golf and take care of the Michigan golfers.
Well, Michigan is home, and we've got a lot of friends in Michigan, and a lot of friends in golf in Michigan, and it's just fun being here. We don't have to travel. We don't have to get on an airplane. We can go out and talk to friends, do a little work on the side, have a little fun on the side, and go see the next one.
That's been the Matthews family trait.